Our guest today on the bridge is Foy Vance. He is in town for the Regarding the Joy of Nothing tour that's happening tonight at the Truman. Bonnie Bishop opens, and we are just thrilled to finally get you into the studio. So nice for you to do this
Glad
today.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
So the name of the tour, the Regarding the Joy of Nothing, of course, references Joy of Nothing. 10th anniversary of that album. It's really a breakout album for you. So I'm assuming that we'll be hearing a bunch of that tonight, along with some of your other catalog.
Well, I think the whole point of the joy of nothing is to enjoy the everything of nothing and the nothing of everything. So I have no idea what we'll hear tonight. It'll be a surprise to me as much as you. Yeah.
You know, before we get into anything, there's a bit of a Kansas City connection that I should feel like I should just lead with. You just won an Emmy for a beautiful game, you and Ed Sheeran, which was in the show Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
And of course, Jason Sudeikis is from Kansas City and a
I was
friend of the
waiting for the
station.
connection. I was thinking, what's that got to do with Kansas? Okay, so Jason is from Kansas City. Okay.
You know, you've got such a lovely accent, and I know that a lot of people are pretty good at pinpointing those things. Has anybody ever said, "Oh, is there a little bit of Oklahoma in that"?
No. I can put some in there if you want to.
I was asking myself, would it be cool to ask him if he can do the Oklahoma thing? And I didn't even have to ask. It's lovely. So you were born in Ireland as an infant, moved to Oklahoma there until you were about the age of 5 or so.
That's right, yeah.
And then back to Ireland. You lived in London. You've described living in London as being inside a washing machine.
Yeah, it's like living in a washing machine for sure. What I mean by that, it's like, yeah, you go to work, or I go to work. My version of work is planes, trains, automobiles, and highways and byways and the like. And then I would come home expecting to relax. And yeah, London's not like going into a relaxing environment at all. It's a great environment. Not knocking London for people that like that. I just did not.
Well, you had sort of I don't know, an affection for Scotland when you were a kid, visiting your grandmother.
Yeah.
And so you landed in the Scottish Highlands, and I normally don't spend this much time on geography, but it does feel like sense of place with you has really mattered over the years.
I think it matters to us all, whether we acknowledge it or not. You know, your environment hugely impacts who you are, how you act, what way you respond, and I think, yeah. And I found when I was in London, I was just in a sort of a 24-hour panic attack. You know what I mean? Like everything felt like, oh, you know, instant Armageddon. We need to fix this because that's the energy of the place. You know, and I think anyone in my line of work is very susceptible to energies, perhaps more so than most, and I think that energy couldn't help but impact me. And like I say, some people love that, you know what I mean? I can't imagine Joe Strummer not being from London, you know what I mean? I can't, there's the Clash, the Sex Pistols, they're all distinctly London bands, but for what I do and what I am and what I'm into, it made more sense to be somewhere where there's a distinct lack of human intent.
You know, it feels to me like you've always been the songwriter, you've always been the performer, but after that, you kind of want to just turn that over to the business people, right? And going back to Scotland, there are lots of examples in your songs of being inspired by your surroundings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very much so. Very much so. Yeah, it's like the city has a lot to say, but none of it really matters, and nature doesn't really say that much, and it's profound. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like that sort of quiet friend that we all have. We all have one of those friends, like they don't say much, and then when they do, you think, wow, you've been sitting thinking that kind of stuff all this time. What are you doing over there? Psilocybin or what's going on?
Again, our guest today is Foy Vance, who's appearing tonight at the Truman. We'd love to hear a song if we could.
Yeah. Yes, I was just trying to sneak a quick drink of coffee, but no. There's no time for that. There's business to be done. Come on. It's like being back in London.
Here's a little explosion of hope. Never turns the lights down low. She can go there if you want her though. There are no markings on the country roads. No sign to show the way back home. But when you get there you won't wanna go, no. I've frozen over my desire. I covered up in virgin snow. But when I stand beside her, she burns, yeah. She burns like petrol, so paper with fireworks. And I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning so deep that just breathing hurts. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. She likes to lay under the covers, oh. Pretend that everywhere's our home, but keeps me warm right to my very soul. We get so tangled up, it's hard to know what is hers and what's my own. Vines at the bottom of an autumn road. I'd frozen over my desire. I covered up in virgin snow. But when I stand beside her, she burns, yeah. She burns like petrol, so paper with fireworks. And I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning so deep that just breathing hurts. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. It's all in the way you held me. Now it's all in the way she holds me. It's all in the way she holds me. I'd frozen over my desire. I covered up in virgin snow when I stand beside her. She burns, yeah. She burns like petrol, so paper with fireworks. And I'm burning, I'm burning, I'm burning so deep that just breathing hurts. Oh, I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go. I'm melting, darling, I can't let go.
Foy Vance is our guest today here on the bridge and, of course, playing tonight at the Truman. You know, we've had so many people come in over the years and talk about how they started out with music in the church. And your dad was a preacher, but you sure get the impression that there was more music at home than there was in the church.
Yeah. Well, he was his sort of, what do you call it, brand of church, breed of church. I don't know. It was called Church of Christ, and they don't allow instruments because apparently God's no fun. I don't know what that's about. God's no crack at all. But you know what? It was kind of cool for me because people really worked out their vocal parts. You know, and everyone fell into a place naturally, and so there's a lot to be gleaned from that church singing actually. But then yeah, my house was full of music. My grandmother, my Granny Macaulay, she was forever singing, you know, a drop of a hat, a birthday, a wedding, a funeral. You moved into a house, a new job. It didn't matter. It was like, okay, everyone shush, shush, shush. And you had to be pin drop silence so that she could sing to you and deliver her message. And if anyone was talking, God forbid you should open your mouth. You know, she was small, but she was mighty. Yeah, so I grew up with that kind of music being very... like utilized beyond some kind of commodity or what's the coolest band that you're into or whatever. It was something that was very pertinent.
And you got some rudimentary training, help from your dad at a pretty young age.
As in teaching me guitar and stuff? Yeah, he did. I learned my guitar style from him. And he was a fine singer, he was a great singer. He too, I think that's probably why he married my mum, because he liked his mother-in-law so much. You know, she sang as much as he did. So they would forever. My dad would be getting the guitar out to accompany my granny, and yeah, they'd sing a lot together. And I would have to do my piece. Everyone had to do their piece. I don't know, is that a thing here? My granny would say you have to do your piece. So you could tell a joke, or you could recite a poem, but you had to do something.
We are just not that cool.
It didn't feel very cool at the time, standing, you know, looking at my shoes, singing Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond. Terrified at all the uncles and aunties, and all the aunties that were going to smother me in slobbery kisses any minute now. Isn't he lovely? Listen to him singing. Listen to him singing.
So playing in a pub after a few pints, to a crowd that's, well into the evening, probably was easy after that, right?
Yeah, absolutely easy. And that's the joys of a microphone. It's only about 6-7 inches long, but that's a lot. People talking, you can always, no matter where they go, you can keep behind it. It's like a barrier.
So you kind of fell into that whole performing thing, and then around the age of 20, you realized it was the only thing you were doing.
That's pretty much it, yeah. I can be slow on the uptake. I'm guessing that's what you're hinting at. Yeah, I was in a band for 2 years before it kind of dawned on me that, maybe I could do this for like the rest of my life and not have to work. Because I wasn't good at anything else. It was either music or a future in storage. Like literally, that's not even a joke. It's just I worked in storerooms, stacking shelves and listening to tapes to try and, I remember most jobs were worked out through like Motown Greatest Hits 4.5 times through that tape, and that's me, the day's done.
So you'd sort of played around with songwriting, but it was around that age when you started to think maybe you could do something. That's when you really started writing. Was there a triggering moment? Was it like a business decision? I'd rather do my own thing. How did it happen?
No, nothing I've ever done is nothing I've ever done is a business decision. But like when it comes to me, I think there's music, and then there's business, and the music business is this kind of. I think they're like oil and water. I think if the business folded tomorrow, music would be just fine. Music would thrive, if anything, because it would be like a hothouse. If there's no kind of immediate let out for it, the energy would build up and music would explode. But without music, there is no industry. It's redundant. You know what I mean? So I've always known which basket to put my eggs in, and it's never been business. God's honest truth is I met a girl who I ended up marrying. She's the first in my ever-growing list of ex-wives now. It was good while it lasted. But I met her, and she was a painter, and I like this idea of making work and exhibiting work. I think that's probably why it took me so long to realize I could do it for the rest of my life, because I was thinking I would play in cover bands, and that's why I'd make money from that, and then I would go and play these singer-songwriter nights that nobody paid you to do, and no one even wanted to hear you anyway. It took a long time for the penny to drop.
Yeah. So you start writing songs, and you've described that as like once you got started, it was like opening up a spigot. But you were slow to come to co-writes, which is kind of funny because you've collaborated with Alicia Keys, Rag& Bone Man, Keith Urban, Casey Musgraves, Miranda Lambert, Natalie Hemby. The list goes on and on. It was really Ed Sheeran who kind of opened you up to the idea of a co-write.
Yeah, yeah. Not to get too morose, but it's like I think my birth into proper songwriting, as I see it, I was trying to write songs. I was trying to, make work to exhibit type thing. That was my mindset. But God's honest truth, and it's not me being humble or falsely humble, or it's the songs were terrible. They were borrowed knowledge. You know what I mean, like pseudo philosophical nonsense that I'd maybe read somewhere. It just none of it felt connected or rooted in anything. And I'll make this story very quick. But basically, what happened was I was living in Lanzarote in the Canary Islands. I moved there, got married at 23, and we moved out there for a year to kind of get away from everything. And one night I was playing in a bar called the Jellyfish, and I would always try and see if I could make a song up on the spot and pass it off like it's an actual song. And this night I was singing, crying in the night. Just this riff went round and round, and I was making up lyrics about Jesus coming like a thief in the night, and then crying in the night. That was the resounding theme was that. And I went home that night, and on the drive home, my wife at the time was like, "What was that? What was that crying in the night song?" And I was like, I don't know what it was, but it really it's kind of infected me somehow. It was going around in my head like an earworm, and it kept me up at night. And I did cry through that night. I don't mind telling you, I was devastated, and I didn't know why. But something was happening with this song and the music. It somehow seemed linked. And I woke up in the morning, and I found my phone, which I had lost. Nothing's changed. Yeah, still. I had like 14 missed calls. It's all from home, and I called home. It turns out, as I was singing that, my dad had passed away on the other side of the world. And I went out the back. I hung up the phone from my conversation with my mum and my brothers. I went out the back, and I don't mean to be crude, but it was like vomiting. It was very visceral. The song just came out, and I didn't change a single lyric. And for the next years, it was all like that. It was like picking a scab, you know what I mean? It was a healing, very cathartic birth into songwriting. And then I was like, I don't care about exhibiting this stuff. That wasn't important anymore. What was important was following this thread, following this light that was kind of constantly revealing melodies and words, and I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to use borrowed knowledge. It was all just kind of there. It felt like it was more like downloading than anything else. And all that to say, when it came to people coming up to me and asking about co-writing, I didn't understand what it was. I remember, I'll not say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but a famous songwriter from Nashville at one point, he liked a song of mine or whatever, and we got chatting, and I was passing through town, and he says, "Yeah, man, we should write." And I said, "Why?" And he laughed. He was like, "You're so funny, man." I'm going, yeah. But I was genuine. I was thinking, I don't understand why we would, like for some kind of like for a mercenary, like to make money from it, or what do you mean? I didn't understand I just didn't. It didn't resonate with me why I would do that, and it only resonated with me after accidentally co-writing a song with Ed Sheeran on tour, because he reached out to me. He was like, "Let's co-write for his record," and I'm kicking myself now. I got back and said, "Here, these songs sound great, man, but I'm not your guy. I don't know what I could add to your vernacular, and but they sound great. Good luck." Boy, am I kicking myself now. That's probably a house and a Ferrari down the drain. But then I went on tour with him years later, and we were hanging out in the kitchen, and I was like, "Oh, what if change this word to that word? What if change that chord to this chord? What if we flip that?" Just was kind of back and forth. I just assumed we were hanging. And that's when the penny dropped for the purpose of co-writing. It was just fun. It was fun.
So another way of illustrating how you feel about co-writing is for all of those co-writes that I mentioned back a couple minutes ago, when it comes to your own records, that's purely you.
Yeah, no, I don't write for I don't write with anyone else for songs that I'm gonna sing. No, and that's not a snobby thing. It's just, again, it's rooted in that I don't understand why I would. I'd be a nightmare to write with. Do you know what I mean? There's songs in my last record that I started 25 years ago and finished for the last record, you know. So I'm in no rush. Rights that I go into, it's like 2 hours and we're done, right? Shake hands, nice to meet you, bye. It's an exercise. To me, that's like kind of going to the gym and hitting the pads for a while, and my own stuff's like the actual fight, stepping in the ring. You know, it's a very different sort of same thing in a lot of ways, but very, very different than others.
Foy Vance is our guest today. He's playing tonight at the Truman. We'd love to hear another song if we could.
All right. Keep this on then.
You said the air was blue. Tell me what's a girl to do when she feels it strongly. Oh, it's plain to see the truth. Janey feels it more than you. She stood by, she seen it through. So Janey don't regard it. He's not open-hearted ever since we parted. When Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted. Janey's blood is low, though she'll never let it show. How was I to know then? Ah, but Janey's love is strong. When she holds me in her arms, she can settle my alarm. So Janey don't regard him. He's not open-hearted ever since we parted. Well, Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted, Janey and we parted. When I meet her eye, Janey always brings a smile, sheds a light in my life. Johnny Cash said life's a road that is only lit by those that you love, and Janey, oh, she knows it well. So Janey don't regard him. He's not open-hearted ever since we parted. Well, Janey and we're guarded, Janey and we're guarded, Janey and we're guarded, Janey and we're guarded.
Thank you very much.
Foy Vance is our guest today. Regarding the joy of nothing tour hits the Truman tonight, and again, the Joy of Nothing 10th anniversary. So actually, probably we're headed towards 11 at this point. You started the tour last year, but partly to sort of, I think, just revisit, celebrate that project and the tour. You went back and did a sort of an anniversary version of the track Guiding Light. And this is a song that when you wrote it, you kind of almost instantly knew that you really had something.
I knew I liked it, which is the kind of the only barometer I adhere to, really. And I think that's the only one worth paying attention to, actually, is, do I like it? Can I stand by this? Yeah. Well, do you know what? The thing was, it was like, it's fair to say I'd kind of lost my way a bit because I dabbled in the business side of it in a way that I knew I never belonged. When I released my first album, Hope, we got offered a deal. We got offered a couple of deals. We got offered one pretty good one, which I shot down. It was... We were at dinner and we were talking about producers, and he said something that I thought, okay, I can either just bite my tongue, take the money, and deal with his indiscrepancies down the line, hopefully, or I can tell him what I actually think of what he just said and potentially lose the deal. And I chose tell him what I thought and lost the deal, which meant I had to set up my own record label to release my first album, which was kind of good in a lot of ways, but really, really profoundly stupid in most others. Because I had to be aware of the back end, the industry side of it, because it had to be dealt with. So I guess in that I lost my way a bit. I started, we're talking about the energies that you surround yourself with impacting you for the best will in the world, and all the right intentions that I had setting out in that path. I had got beaten, battered and bruised and dragged through many a hedge that I should never have gone anywhere near. With regards to industry folks or whatever, and I think I'd lost touch with the spark of writing. You know what I mean? What's worth writing about? Which was a moment in itself, because I was of the opinion nothing's worth writing about, and then 7 years of thinking that, I realized, wow, nothing's worth writing about. It's actually worth writing. You know what I mean? It's a subtle difference, but it took me a while to figure that out. And Guiding Light was one of those songs that, song is my guiding light, music is my guiding light, whatever that muse is, whatever that thing is out there that calls and sends melodies, whatever that is. That's what I'm seeking, and that's what Guiding Light reminded me. It's like, oh yeah, never mind all that nonsense. Just keep doing the thing that you love to do. Find what you love to do and do it as often as you possibly can, and let the rest of it figure itself out. So all that's a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. And I may get the timeline on this wrong, so you can help me out if I get the order of events wrong.
Listen, you're talking to an Irishman. We have no such thing as time.
But Ed Sheeran, before he was Ed Sheeran, came to...
He was Ed Sheeran, the hour he was born, you know that, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was Brian Schiltzer, and then...
Yeah. Well, maybe he was already Ed Sheeran, but at the sound, but when you said his voice, the choirs of heavenly angels weren't singing yet. He was unknown. We'll put it that way.
He wasn't the ginger Jesus just yet.
Yeah, and he and his dad came to his. I'm kind of under the impression his dad took him to see you, like over 40 times.
Yeah,
and he fell in love with Guiding Light. And you had not recorded it. And so he taught himself the song off of YouTube videos of you performing it live so that he could start doing it.
That could be right. Yeah, that whole time is a bit of a blur to me, for many reasons.
So fast forward, he's become Ed Sheeran, and you all are performing at the Ryman.
Yeah, so that was around, I guess, would have been before I'd released the album, obviously, before I'd released Joy of Nothing, just before. and he was like, "Can we finish with Guiding Light tonight?" I was like, "Can we?" "Yes, we can. Yeah, I can come out and do that." And the rhyming, so I come out for his last song. We unplugged the guitars, stood up in the monitors, and sang that, and had the audience singing along. And we got backstage, and he was like, "You know what? We should do that together. We should do it like that together." Because I took verse 1, he took verse 2. And I was, obviously at that point I was thinking I'd be honoured, because that song got adopted by a family called the McDade family. John McDade, a very famous songwriter from back home. It became a song that's very pertinent in their family. It was, again, there's so many morose stories, but it was like his father, he found out his father had not long to live, and I found out. He told me at a gig, and I dedicated Guiding Light. I'd just written it, and I could dedicate it to them. And unbeknownst to me, him and his entire clan of sisters and brothers went back to Ireland to see their dad. And the first time they saw their dad since the diagnosis, they walked in singing Guiding Light. So that song became a family mantra. It's on his gravestone, and all the McDade family got a tattoo of it. And it just so happens that Ed, if there's anyone that loves John McDade more than me, it's Ed. John's been a big brother to him, and as much as he's been a brother to me. So yeah, it just made a lot of sense. God's honest truth, when he first said about it, I was a bit worried that it would be seen as mercenary, because he was just on the cusp of becoming the Ginger Jesus. It was like he was like, and I was thinking, and then I thought, yeah, who cares what they think? It's got merit. It's got a reason to be. So we recorded it together back then. That was the original impetus for him and I singing it together.
So, most people I think would be really super happy to stop there. But for the anniversary edition, okay, there's Ed Sheeran. We'll have him redo it, do it again. You'll redo it again, and then bring in a couple of other, little people.
Yeah, Elton John. You know what? He's been riding on my coattails for years now. I just can't seem to shake him off. Yeah, I reached out to him, and I reached out to Keith Urban, and Ed, all simultaneously. God's honest truth, I didn't expect them all to say yes. So if we get one of them,
so you had to make room. The song's longer now.
Yeah, but and I have my reasons for asking each one of them. But they all said yes, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Can I tell you, when Elton did his vocal, I wanted to go and hear it, like in his presence. I didn't want to get it over, and sit and listen to it, looking at my laptop or whatever. He was playing in Aberdeen, which is just up the road from where I live. So me and my two boys, my two kids, drove up to Aberdeen to go and see the show, and we were backstage just before he gone on, and he played it to me. He said, "Do you want to hear it?" And I said, "Yes, I do. That's why I'm here to hear your gig, but I want to hear this, yeah." And so I sat there, and he played it to me. And thank God, Elton is still like as fervently into music as ever he was when he began. At the end of the pass, he was like a little boy. He said, "Do you want to hear it again?" And I just nodded, because if he hadn't have said that, honestly, I would have broken down. I was melted. I was destroyed. My words had failed me. I didn't know what to say. To hear that, to remember where that song came from, the time that song came, what it meant to me at that time, and all these years later to be sitting in the company of a legitimate hero of mine and hear his voice on. I mean, I'm welling up even saying that, let alone hearing his. Every time I hear his voice come in, I break into a spontaneous smile. That's wild. Absolutely wild.
And you got a chorus of people who are very important to you in different ways to be in the choir that was recorded at Anderson East Studio.
That's right, yeah. Anderson's another one that's close to... Yeah, I mean, but I couldn't get everyone that has inspired me along the way, but the whole idea was like anyone that has lit my path anywhere along the way, I wanted them to have a space on the record somewhere. And I didn't get around to getting all the people that really deeply influenced me, but that's not for... I just ran out of time, and and also I felt a bit embarrassed. I'd already got Ed Sheeran, Elton John, and Keith Urban. You know what I mean? It's like, what more do you want? You know, kind of reaching out to anyone else just felt a bit like, you know.
That is just so lovely. Being on the road is super hard, and we're so grateful that you come in today and share your time with us. There was talk about 2 or 3 songs, and I sure don't want to force you into a third. We'd take one if you got it in you.
I can tell that you don't mean what you just said. You want to force me to this.
God, you saw right through the humble mask. Holy cow.
I feel like it would be rude not to do at least 3 if that's what you're used to. And I believe this is the maiden voyage of this room, right? This is the first time a gig's been done in this room. Okay. I know what to leave you with.
Well, tomorrow may not be like any other day. It's so hard to know now what with the collective they. See, lately they've been swinging out the wrecking ball, tipping dirt on the foundations I spent so long upon, making sure they would be strong. But you and I, we are hard as stone. You and I, we are hard as stone. And I'm empty at my pockets in the hot one day. But then I turn my back and I will simply walk away. And they may think it over and reach out their hand. And I've long since disappeared by then like water in the sand. Well, now you see, gold was all the day I'd climbed. But you and I, we are hard as stone. You and I, we are hard as stone. They're like pawns on a tide, and I'm back here castling, trying to find my feet, to find my joie de vivre again. I can't make it on my own, I may need something strong that I can build you hope upon. And everybody needs a little hope sometimes. You and I, we are hard as stone. You and I, we are hard as stone. You and I.
Thank you very much.
I think we have a new standard of appreciation. Whistles and claps. That's a new level here.
Yeah,
You've set a personal best for the Bridge Studios.
Well,
That's
being it's the first one, I mean, that's not saying much, is it? You're the best one we've had all day. You're the best interview I've had all day.
yeah. Well, it's only fitting as your middle name is Best,
There you go.
and you are today. Absolutely. Foy Vance, regarding the Joy of Nothing tour tonight at the Truman. Make sure and get there on time. Bonnie Bishop opens, and you want to catch that as well.
Yes, sir.
And all humble mask aside, we do really thank you for coming in and being a part of us today and being open and sharing all those stories in your music. It's really deeply meaningful to all of us.
Well, thank you very much. What are we here for if not that, the way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right. Well, much love.
Bless you.
Foy Vance today on the Bridge.